Okay, so welcome to the video. I'm going to be doing a video on the mid-2017 MacBook Air today. I just picked it up about 2 weeks ago from Micro Center. I've been using it as my main laptop now for about a week. I tried using it as my main laptop and it's been working pretty well. I've been using it at school, I've been using it at home every now and then. At home I do have my desktop though, so if anything, if I am using a computer, I am at my desk. I can't really do a lot of the intensive tasks I need to on this MacBook, but it is great to go and take with me as a light laptop, and it's a great secondary computer, as in like using it as a mobile PC or just really needing it to do any relaxing work or casual work or anything like that. So today I'm going to go into some of the pros and cons of this laptop. I'm going to go over some of its features, some of its deficits, and some of the reasons why I like it and some of the reasons I don't like it. And I think I just mentioned every single synonym of pro and con. So let's get right into it. So pros of this laptop. We're going to start with the good things. The good things about this laptop, you got a pretty great set of speakers on it. I would say they're pretty decent. I'm going to show some demos of that right about now. And the display on this laptop is pretty good too. It's all right. It's kind of like a pro and a con. If I had to put this in like a Venn diagram, it would be in the middle. The colors are pretty accurate when you're looking at it head on. It is not an IPS display, or Retina display is what Apple calls it. It is an active TFT or TN panel. If I had to guess, I could look it up on Apple's website, and maybe I'll put a little note over here right next to me somewhere. And it's pretty decent. It's a 1400 by 900 panel, which is okay. It is a 13-inch laptop, so it's not the worst thing in the world. You're not really going to be watching a 1080p video on it, but that's more than fine because the display is not really going to do it any justice. You can, because YouTube does compress the video, so technically 1080p will look better than 720. It's a whole thing, but it's not great. It's not good. It's not great. So it's kind of in the middle. You have a pretty decent keyboard and trackpad combo. The keyboard is backlit, it's chiclet, it's Apple's good style of switches, the ones that they went to now and they called new. It's kind of like the second generation of those, but they work pretty well. I like it. It's very easy to type on. This keyboard's a little worn on the one that I have, but that's to be expected. It's a 4-year-old laptop, and this is certified refurbished, and it's an off-lease computer. So it's bound to have a little bit of issues like that, but nothing that's unbearable. So the other thing is the glass trackpad. It is an Apple multi-touch trackpad, and Apple is known for their multi-touch technology for the most part when it comes to that sort of stuff, and it works pretty well. I have no problem with any of the gestures. Sometimes it miscalculates what I'm doing, and that's fine. Sometimes it'll go back on a web page when I mean to go forward or mean to just scroll, and that's fine because I could just go back using the same gesture. So it's not the worst thing ever, but again, it's kind of like the display, you know, it's in the middle, but this actually is, I think I can say it's the best trackpad I've ever used. I just find ways to complain about it, I guess. So it's not the worst thing in the world. I mentioned the keyboard's backlit. Nothing really else super exciting there. It's, again, this isn't the greatest laptop in the world. It's not the worst, but it's in the middle. It's a pretty good middle ground. I think for $400 you get a bunch of nice features on it. It is one of the last upgradable MacBook Airs, so you can go ahead and take the bottom off. You need a Pentalobe P5 screwdriver. You could take the bottom off, and as long as you then have a Torx screwdriver, then you can go ahead and remove the SSD. You could replace it. I have this cool $8, $9 adapter. I'm going to show some footage of that now. It's literally just Apple's SSD interface to regular PCI Express M.2, and you can install a 2280 size M.2 drive, so an 80mm drive, and that'll work just fine in this computer. You can't upgrade the RAM. It is soldered to the motherboard, so typical Apple, but it's, again, not the worst thing in the world. The 8GB of RAM pairs nicely with the Core i5 that this laptop has. I did have it hard crash on me once while sharing my screen and using the camera and be on a call and watching a YouTube video. I did a few more things that I probably should have on this MacBook Air, but I was trying to see what its limitations were, and it looks like you just can't stream and do things at the same time, which is fine. Like I said, it's sort of like a casual use laptop, so it's not the worst thing ever. Now the cons. I mentioned it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. I also mentioned it has an SSD and a Core i5. The Core i5 is fine. The 8 gigabytes of RAM could be more, but it's fine that it's not. Again, it's just for casual use, so it's not the worst thing ever. The SSD is only 120 gigabytes. At 128 gigabytes, you fill up the laptop pretty much halfway by just installing some key programs. Key programs for me on this laptop are Chrome, Spotify, Spark for email, Discord for, communication, and what's that other program? Eclipse and Darkroom. Darkroom is for photo editing. It's play on words for Lightroom. It pretty much does the same thing. It's just a little bit cheaper. And then Eclipse is for Java programming and C++ or whatever language you're really using. It does it all for the most part. It does those things pretty well, but the SSD is just not great. It's not big enough. It's really fast. The laptop boots up really, really quickly. But it's just not big, and that's why I mentioned that M.2 adapter. I would highly recommend getting one and installing it and getting a bigger SSD. You can only use PCI Express, so if you see a SATA-based M.2 SSD, because those do exist, they are going to be the cheaper models, and they're not great. They're not going to work in this laptop, so if you do get one, you do have to go with the more expensive PCI Express models, but they are a lot cheaper than Apple's versions of them. Or if you go on OWC or something like that, they're definitely going to be a lot cheaper. So that's something, but it's not the worst thing ever. You also have the cooling solution that's kind of garbage, is the word I'm going to use. It's abysmal. It has, I think, the thinnest sheet of copper I've ever seen in a computer being used for the contact plate that contacts with the heat pipe and the heatsink and the CPU. It's not great. I had to repaste the laptop immediately when I bought it. It was idling at about 70 degrees Celsius, which is horrible. Once I repasted it, which literally just took all the screws on the back, which I think are 8 or 10 of them. They're all Pentalobe P5, and then once you open it up, there's a few Torx screws that you have to get to take the heatsink off, and it took like 5 minutes to repaste it. It wasn't that bad. I used Arctic MX4, and now I'm idling about 35 degrees. And if it's a little warmer in the room, I get up to about 40 degrees Celsius while idling. And that's fine. And under load, I hit about 70. So the idling temperature that I was hitting when I first got the laptop was actually now the load temperature, which is insane. So I would highly recommend repasting it. And if you don't want to do that, reach out to somebody that does. Go to, a computer repair shop. Other than that, I don't think I have too many complaints about the laptop. I already said display. Nothing really else. Now we're going to get to the big pros. The big pros of this laptop are the battery. The battery on this laptop is so insanely good. If I have the B-roll from my other video, or actually I think it was the A-roll, if I have the footage from my other video that I was filming before this, the first take of this video, I have a scene there where the laptop literally, it went 3 days without me charging it. Almost 3 whole days. If not 3 whole days, about 2.5 days. Not charging it at all. I used it as my laptop at school, and it worked fantastically. I did use this laptop for an entire week, and it worked pretty well for what I was doing. I didn't really do anything super intensive on it. I just use YouTube, Spotify, Google Docs, typical suite of just kind of casual applications. It wasn't that bad. Even some Eclipse in there. I did a little Java programming, and it worked pretty well. I did some darkroom photo editing, and it worked fine as well. So again, I don't really have that many things to complain about this laptop. It worked really well for what I expected. And the battery life just makes it so much better. Now the port selection, because this laptop actually has I/O. Who could have imagined that an Apple laptop could have more than 2 ports and a headphone jack? This laptop has a MagSafe connector, which is fantastic for charging. In fact, I literally ripped my camera off of the charger because I forgot that it doesn't have MagSafe, and I almost cried when I thought it was broken, and so that was pretty bad. But MagSafe won't do that. You can just trip over the cable and nothing will happen. You just rip your laptop off of where your charger is, and You know, the only thing to come off is the laptop. You have a USB 3.0 port, you have a headphone jack, and you have dual microphones for a stereo effect on the left side of the laptop. It works pretty well. On the right side of the laptop, you have a Thunderbolt 2 port, an SD card slot, and another USB Type-A 3.0 connector. Imagine that, regular USB on a laptop. It has Thunderbolt on it, which is great. It is an Apple laptop, so it does have it. And I have not used it yet, but I do intend on buying a dock for it and taking advantage of that. Now, the laptop only comes in one color. It's silver. Most Apple laptops nowadays come in silver or black, or I think the MacBook Air comes in gold. Here, you can buy a D-brand skin. I'm going to actually kind of show my screen over here, and you can see I bought the black carbon fiber one. I think it's going to give it a nice contrast with the white Apple logo. This one lights up too, so I think it'll look pretty nice. But if you get this laptop, you pick it up at Micro Center for about $400, so you get a D-brand skin for the lid at least, and for any other parts. I bought just a lid for $25. It works pretty well, I think. I haven't gotten mine yet, as you're going to see. My laptop is very vanilla, very plain, but maybe I'll do a video of installing it when it does arrive, and successor to this video. So all in all, I think this is a pretty decent laptop. The performance is all right. I'm going to show the Cinebench run right now. It's fine. It's not great. One would say it's pretty terrible. But that's theoretical performance. Real world performance, it's about what you expect from a $400 laptop. It runs pretty well. You have to remember something. This is DDR3 RAM, Core i5 from 2015, because it's 2017 is just a rebrand of the 2015 model, which is technically a rebrand of the 2014 model, whole big thing. If you want to know more about this, highly recommend finding like a Linus Tech Tips video on the Intel generation of CPUs, and it'll make a lot more sense. If you're using this laptop for things that are very casual, like writing up documents or research work or anything like that, anything that's not mathematically intensive, like doing computer science stuff or engineering stuff like what I do, I have a main computer to use, and this laptop is not my main PC. I have a high-end PC in the other room, and I also I have access to better computers at my college that I can use for doing this work. I just wouldn't recommend buying this laptop as your sole computer. I think it's a good secondary, but I don't think it's a good primary. But if you're doing anything else other than applied science, or mathematics, or anything like that, I highly recommend this. It could be a good computer for you. If you want an Apple computer and you don't want to dish out $1,000, but you also don't want to get a kind of okay Windows PC, you could get a decent MacBook for the price. And the good news is that it supports macOS Big Sur at the moment, and it will support macOS Monterey in the future, when that does come out later this fall. So, thank you for watching the video. I hope you learned something here, and until the next video, which I think I'm going to upload relatively soon, now that I'm getting a little bit more acclimated with my setup over here. As you can see, it's now a sofa instead of the last video I was at my desk. My desk is a little bit of a mess right now, so I figured why not try this out. Got a little bit better lighting too. Two lights there, and light behind me, so we're going to see. Maybe this will work a little better, but yeah, I have a few ideas, so I'm going to see what works, film some more videos, and start getting them out there. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.